Good to have your company this Sunday morning. Taylor Swift has had a Beatles-like impact here in Australia, of course, in Melbourne and now in Sydney. It does beg the question, will she endorse President Joe Biden ahead of the November election? Joining me live is Democratic strategist Fred Hicks. It's something Joe Biden would certainly like. Fred?
For sure. I think Joe Biden and any product across the globe right now would be happy to have Taylor Swift's endorsement, for sure.
How important is it for Joe Biden to have people like Taylor Swift endorse him? Of course, the United States works on a different election system than we do here in Australia. It's compulsory in Australia. It is not compulsory where you live.
Absolutely. We have a system here, as you mentioned, that's different than there in Australia. And really, where our system has come to at this point is that there are about 6 or 7 states here in our country that really determine the outcome of the presidency. There's Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and maybe North Carolina. Those are what we call our swing states. And so in those states, because the rest of the states are either reliably Republican or reliably Democrat. And so inside of those 6 or 7 states or so, you have a number of people a number of constituencies that are vying for attention. And someone like Taylor Swift really addresses a number of issues for President Biden. Number one, it helps engage younger voters. Number two, it helps engage less likely voters. And then right now, what's really important for Democrats is this idea of rallying voters around the Restore Roe hashtag, that is protecting women's rights to reproductive health. And so that is something that Taylor Swift supports. And I think she can really provide lightning in a bottle, so to speak, to crystallize this issue for young women voters to say, hey, listen, yes, Joe Biden is older. Yes, Donald Trump is older. No, you might not necessarily be inspired by these candidates. However, there's more than just the personalities at play. There are issues at play.
It's very interesting to watch social media, and it's a bit of a barometer these days. Taylor Swift on X, the former Twitter, has 90 million followers and follows no one. So it is interesting. Now, you were on the line waiting to come on and talk to us and were listening to Donald Trump. What have you made of his recent appearances?
It's very interesting that the things that he says about Joe Biden are the things that Democrats and Joe Biden would say about him. And so, and it's very interesting that Donald Trump positions himself really as the savior of all humankind, at least of Americans, and saying that if we don't elect him, then America is just going to fall by the wayside. I think the term he used was to Joe Biden and his henchmen. And so it's very interesting to hear how Donald Trump positions himself as almost a Messiah-like candidate who's going to save America and deliver Americans back to a place of superiority in the world. So I thought it was very, very interesting that he did that, and he really did not acknowledge any fault or any errors in his first term. And I think that's going to be really a problem, not because I'm a Democrat, but I think anytime you're asking for people for support, you have to acknowledge that there are some weaknesses, some areas where you can do better in order to establish credibility and for them to allow themselves to hear you on the rest of your message. So this Messiah-like complex that Donald Trump has is really, I think, dangerous, and it could very well be his undoing.
Well, to this point anyway, the court cases have seemed to pump him up. Sugar hit him. Will they start to take their toll? Because it's almost like he's travelling from court case to rally, from rally to court case.
Well, that's with his base. And so, I think it's important for our viewers to understand that we have a primary process here in the United States, and the primary selects the winner of the primary moves on to the general election in November. And so, what's happening for Donald Trump is as he has these various court cases, and just for our viewers, he's been ordered to pay a little bit more than $500 million US across 2 major civil hearings. These have really served to solidify his base, but I think we're starting to see an erosion of support amongst people who will vote in November. And so if he truly believes that this is a good thing for him, then he's missing the bigger picture.
He will win the South Carolina Republican primary, despite the fact that that's where Nikki Haley's from.
Absolutely. So most of the polling here in the U.S. indicates he's going to win by 30 or maybe even 35 points. And that will be yet another win for him. Actually, he's won every one along the way: Nevada, Iowa, New Hampshire, and now, of course, South Carolina, if the polls are correct. And it certainly feels that way. So this is one of the main remaining contest before we get to what we call Super Tuesday, which will be March 5th. And that's when you have a large number of states across the country voting, and you have a large number of delegates. So this will be another big win for him and give him a momentum going into Super Tuesday. And then after Super Tuesday, you have about 4 states where Georgia is the biggest and the most valuable, so to speak, in terms of delegates on that map. So this is an important win for him if he can secure it today. But the biggest day for him is still ahead, and we'll see what happens there.
Fred, we'll talk again real soon.
Thank you. I look forward to it.